Okay, so the other thing that I was going to touch on today is, and this is kind of freeform, so forgive me. Someone proposed to me recently the idea of where consciousness comes from, and this is something that science has tried to figure out. Where in the brain is your consciousness? Like, what if they know there's certain parts of your brain that do all sorts of different acts and all sorts of different controls, and certain when people have damage or injury in certain parts of the brain, it affects them in significant ways. But where's your consciousnness? And there is no space for that. People mystically talk about third eye, and someone proposed this thought to me that has been stirring in me, which is that consciousness does not reside in our physical frame at all, but that we receive consciousness like a radio tower, and that consciousness actually exists in a place beyond this physical realm. So let's say that there is, which I think that's why the topic of today was mind plus spirit equals you. So you have these two elements to what you are. The mind part, when I'm saying mind, I'm saying your brain. The brain is your collection of your memories, your experiences, the interpretation of stimuli, and that is matter based. It is stimulus. You can actually, science can explain it. It's all stimulus. Let's go to here. It can all be understood with it obeys the laws of physics. But there's tons of things that obey the laws of physics. There's tons of matter that doesn't have consciousness, that doesn't have life, that doesn't have this spark of something that we cannot explain. So I'm starting to see these as these two separate things that when wed becomes us. Neither one by themselves is us, although there's all sorts of overlap. So the mind is the part of you that sees and feels and experiences the separateness of your experience in the universe. It also is aware of and believes in death, because when this matter is no longer connected to spirit, then it ceases to exist. But spirit, as it's being transmitted from this other place, it is received in this body, it is received in this mind, it animates this mind. But if that is severed, it only ceases to exist in this matter experience. It does not cease its broadcasting source. We can call it source, being connected to source. So it's kind of like, this is the physical thing. Mind is the physical thing. Spirit is the electricity that animates it. I guess that's not that out there, right? That makes sense. And I think that what happens is that matter is a finite thing that experiences. It has time. There's decay. There's death in the mind and matter part. And the spirit part is eternal and timeless. And so there is a communication that happens back and forth. It is far more one way. Mind communicates everything to spirit. Spirit is like this library collection of all experiences. It is timeless. It is massive. And when your radio tower picks up a finite amount of one ray, one cell, one string of that infinite consciousness, it animates you and allows you to have these experiences, which then you can transfer back, send back. Some people propose that that's what dreaming is. Dreaming is you checking in your memories, checking in your experiences to this library. And in the spirit realm, it does not follow the laws of physics. That's why mystical experiences, supernatural things, those are often happening in that realm. And these two realms communicate, but they don't overlap. So that's why you cannot explain some of these things with science, and vice versa. So the idea of I, or what I am, is the combination of these two things. It's that beautiful matrimony of the temporary, transitory collection of memories and experiences of this body's worldly, traveling around this matter, connected to this eternal vibration of consciousness. And when this starts to get clear, I think, is when you start to play in the edges. And we have all sorts of things about our experience that we crave and do and embrace that intentionally mess with that connection. I kind of think of it the way, it's not so much that they're connected like with a bridge. It's more like, you ever done latch hook? They're like these rug kits that you would get as a kid. You get them at the, I don't know, maybe that was just a 70s thing. But anyway, you would get these it was like a plastic grid. And it would have the color, like a picture on the grid. And when you saw there was a square that was orange, you would take a orange piece of yarn and go, and it would make orange there. And you orange, 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 yellow, yellow, yellow. And when it would end, it would be like, oh, it's Yoda! I mean, you knew what it was at the beginning. But it would be like, hey, I made this rug of Yoda. And I kind of see the relationship like that, where the mind, the physical, the matter-based experience of who we are is a latch hook plastic grid, and it is animated by spirit. So the plush fullness of who we are is this framework of what we are, and this fluidness vibration of what we also are in this moment. And I think that when we play with the edges, we do things where we separate the two a little bit. And for example, one of those places that I think that happens is like in sex. And I think, in an orgasm, in this transcendent experience, that connection of our physical framework and our spiritual energetic vibration it's almost like we take the rug and go, huh, and like knock the two out of sync for a while, and we flow around, we swirl around in this energetic whoa, and then come back. Drugs can do that too. Drugs, it's less of a shaking and more of like a dissolving. Like you kind of like try to like make the framework go away for a second. So spirit is just like, whoa. I think a lot of people that pursue intoxication sometimes it is an attempt to dissolve the mind, dissolve the framework that is in some ways a prison for your spirit. Maybe prison's the wrong word, but it's the walls that give you framework. And when you work to soften those things, it allows spirit to kind of flow a little bit more freely. Meditation, all sorts of things that people do. Sometimes that pursuit of becoming present, because let's say that latch hook is like the chronology of your life. When you can get totally present, then the framework becomes far less important. It's just in that moment what is happening, and it's less about this pattern that is your predetermined or your not predetermined, but matter, organic, bound by laws of physics, ruled sense of who you are. Dancing, I think, is another thing that blurs that line. It's fluid. It lets us drift farther into the spirit, less anchored by our framework, our latch hook. And then I think as we pursue a spiritual path and find ourselves less rigidly, maybe not rigidly, but more aware of this this working together, a few things happen. One is that death becomes less scary because we start to realize, worst case scenario, my matter experience ends. So the individual latch hook of this Yoda pillow or this Halcyon pillow is done. But the vibrational experience of spirit has digested that entire thing and fed that back, and it is a part of the spirit realm forever, timelessly, eternally. Now, will I experience it again in the same specific finite way of Halcyon? No. But that only seems to be a negative perspective from the experience of halcyon, which, and I have no concept, I have no ability to I'm blessed to have a thread of that. There's no way to make a judgment about what it is to be free of the latch hook. And it goes back to what my grandpa used to say about if you could interview a fetus and ask it if it wanted to come out of the womb, if it wanted to be born into the world, it would say, absolutely not. In here, I've got my very simple latch hook. I've got my food taken care of. I've got the temperature taken care of. Everything is exactly perfect for me. No way do I want to change dimensions, change my physical, my world. And so I think of this physical body death being the same kind of transition, where we are freed from the binds of the physical. A fetus is bound by the umbilical cord. This existence is bound by the umbilical cord of matter itself. The physical world, we are bound by the laws of physics. We have to follow them, unless we can get into some magical things, which perhaps that bleeds on the lines, but let's say that even in the gift of this existence, we have to follow the rules of physics. That is our umbilical cord. And who knows what blindingly amazing things we become when that umbilical cord is severed, when that electrical is, and we return, and it's no longer a dual, it is a unified thing. This is all theory. But more and more it's feeling like the way it resonates with me, which is why I share it as a belief buffet. Because the whole point of Belief Buffet is to sample ideas and thoughts, and if they taste good, then chew on them longer, see how it resonates with you. The thing that I'm also of the mind is that I don't think the mind can ever comprehend of what I just talked about. That mind, spirit, the same way a fetus can never, no amount of teaching, no amount of Baby Einstein videos will ever make a fetus understand what the world outside the womb is. And we will never understand the realms beyond the universe that we live in. So our brain does the best it can to try to use metaphors or put the two and two, it conjures up saints and Virgin Marys and Bigfoots and tunnels with white lights. All of these things are just stimulus that our brain tries to make a metaphor that we can grab onto and make sense of. But it's just a map. A map does not ever equal the landscape. A photo of the Grand Canyon is not the same thing as especially not a map of it. It can be fun. It can be relaxing to feel like, oh, I get it. I see. That makes sense to me. But you would be insane to think that studying a map of the Grand Canyon made you understand what it's like to raft down it. And I don't think that. I think that. So I guess what I'm saying is that so the Belief Buffet and so these out there crazy ideas that you could never prove, that's okay. It's like Vonnegut said with Bakunism, go by the FOMA, go by the tiny lies that make you happier and more productive and kind. Whatever metaphor, whatever story, whatever system of organizing the human experience, consciousness, and your place in it all, that puts you in that place of I want to be more loving, connected, and righteous, that's the metaphor that works for you. That's your faith. That is it until it's not. So I share that with you because today that's my faith until it's not. Thanks for giving me a place to spill it out and try to make some sense of it. I'm more than thrilled, honored, overjoyed that our consciousness, our latch hooks, exist in the same time and space so that we can kind of play along this path together and figure out the edges and figure out the core and figure out what lights us up. Having this time to recalibrate and just sit in these questions is my most profound gift, and I am so thankful to share this time with you. Thank you. I love you. And I want to do a hug. Let's have a hug. So wherever you are, grab yourselves by the shoulders. Oh, this physical body, this latch hook framework. What a treat to keep track of and organize and give basically like a filing cabinet for all of the stuff that this body's done. Thank you for receiving all of the stimulus. Help us to make sure we get that. But recognize that everybody we see is an example of this same phenomenon. A physical collection of memories and experiences animated with something miraculous, some vibrational force from a place that we will never understand. And that just as we get caught up and forget that we are this magical, multidimensional miracle, so too do most people get caught up in their ego stuff and their to-do lists and sometimes see us as the obstacle or even the enemy. So let's take a moment to remember that we nor they are any of those things. Those are simply the games we play as we play on the latch hook, as we play in the framework. But deeper and timeless is that thread, that connection to Source. And when we surrender to that, when we give that strength and we allow that to guide us, is when we become in the flow. And we become powerful, become abundant, we become agents of joy simply by surrendering and following the love that flows through us. So let's take a deep breath and just feel connected to all things as that vibration flows through us. Deep breath. One more. On behalf of Grandpa Caleb, all the love warriors, happy Hug Nation. Thank you. I love you. Namaste.